Welcome to our online gathering of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock. I'm Laurie Smith Prud'homme, a member of the congregation, and this is our service for Sunday, January 30th, 2022. Whether you're joining us on this day or at some other time, whether you're joining us from home or from someplace across the country, we're happy to welcome you to our worshiping community. If you'd like to learn more about our church, or if you've been tuning in and feel like our church could be your spiritual home, we'd love to hear from you. To contact us, you can send an email to uuclr@uuclr.org. Our worship service will now begin.
I've been traveling down a long road, don't know where it's leading me. Guess I'll take it slow and easy for a while. I'm still working on this journey. It's been a good, eventful way. Friends and family stand beside me. They are with me every day. I have been up to the mountain, been down in the valley too. Life ebbs and flows like tidal waters, pulling, tugging on you. The journey never seems to end, but there are places where we stay. We can gather fruits of labor and share gifts along the way. But the long road somehow ceases. The journey surely has an end. Yet we must always be seeking. The journey now begins again. I have been up to the mountain, been down in the valley too. Life ebbs and flows like tidal waters, pulling, tugging on you. I have been up to the mountain, been down in the valley too. Life ebbs and flows like tidal waters, pulling, tugging on you.
Good morning, I'm Marvin Schwartz. It's my pleasure to light the chalice this morning. And we open with these words. Let us open our eyes to see what is beautiful. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another. Please join me in the affirmation of the covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other.
Hello, my name is Rich Roy. I am the Faith and Action Liaison at UUCLR. This is our first Fifth Sunday appeal for 2022. We had hoped to share this appeal in person this year, but the pandemic has managed to redirect our plans again. As you know, each year there are a few months with a fifth Sunday instead of the usual 4. This January, the fifth Sunday appeal offering is dedicated to helping with UU-related projects and efforts coordinated through the UU Service Committee program. The program coordinates with an immigrant advocacy organization working to help an immigrant family reunite with family members after being separated from them. One way we may help is by purchasing Visa or Kroger gift cards. With gift cards, the family can get basic items they need, such as food, hygiene products, clothes, and food, and cash contributions are always helpful. You may contact me if you wish to know more details by email, rich.roy1943@gmail.com. If you send a check contribution, please note Fifth Sunday Appeal on the memo line, or you may select the Fifth Sunday Fund at the online giving Vanco site. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Our reading this morning is from Singing the Living Tradition, We Need One Another by George Odell. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair and temptation and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat when with encouragement we might endure and stand again. We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us.
Spirit, come and rest in me.
I wish we were together this morning in person so I could see your smiling faces and get your feedback. We might have to continue this conversation at a forum sometime later this year when we're all together again. I've been drawn to issues of death and dying since I was in my 20s. I'm not sure how this happened, but somehow I became the one that wrote the eulogies for our family funerals. I sat with my great-grandmother Mimi in her last hours, and I cared for my grandparents in their last years. And now that I think about it, it probably did start with Mimi. She had all of us choose what we wanted to remember her by, and she put our name on pieces of masking tape underneath tabletops and behind picture frames. She also put together a navy blue 3-ring binder where she wrote down everything we needed to know about her funeral, including hymns and flowers and the arrangements that she'd made with the funeral home. Mimi's eulogy was the first one I ever wrote. And everything about her life and death was sacred to me and beautiful, sad but not scary. She had prepared all of us so well. But for today, my story begins last winter. In the midst of the pandemic and facing my only child leaving for college in August, I knew that I needed meaningful work, something to fulfill me, but also to distract me from my empty nest. I'd read about death doulas, and I felt a deep connection to that work. In this country, we're slightly more familiar with birth doulas, who support women during labor and birth and in the days after the baby is born. Death doulas do similar work at end of life, supporting and assisting a person who is dying, as well as helping families in the time before the death and in the days and weeks that follow. But families have cared for their dying loved ones for years. It's only recently that we've started thinking about death as happening in hospitals or nursing homes or hospices. Anyway, I started making notes and reading and researching, and the pieces started to fall into place. Just not quite in the way that I expected. The pandemic was a big problem because death doula trainings were only available online. I've been in plenty of productive Zoom meetings, but this didn't feel like the way to learn if I was cut out for end-of-life work. Reading about death is one thing. Experiencing death with people who weren't my family members was an entirely different matter. Then a dear friend suggested I apply to the Clinical Pastoral Education program at UAMS. I'm now in a 1-year residency program as a hospital chaplain. And in October, I also began my end-of-life doula certification online with the NELDA, which stands for the International End-of-Life Doula Association. The work is fascinating and inspiring. It's deeply meaningful and enriching. And my work as a chaplain gives me opportunities every day to sit with patients and their families as they face end of life. Since you are my beloved community, I feel like I can tell you about my new adventures and know that you're all supportive and happy for me. So thank you. And I have some more info about doula work at the end. But I do have a few thoughts from this place of beginnings for me that I would like to share. Things that I've learned both from my chaplaincy and from the doula training. First, it is a gift to be heard, really heard, and to be able to express your feelings without being judged when you're going through a difficult time. And our society has made death and dying, which happens to literally every human, into a forbidden, or at the very least uncomfortable topic for many of us. So when we're facing illness and death and we need to talk about it, it can be hard to tell others. We don't have the words, or we might not trust that we'll be heard. If we can suspend our learned attitudes and try to become more comfortable with all expressions of grief and responses to death and dying, we help normalize those expressions and responses. That is the gift. Everyone has a different response, and every response is normal, even if our culture tries to say otherwise. We can reinforce this normalcy by working on our own comfort with all expressions of grief. One way to learn about this kind of acceptance might include walking the walk ourselves. Part of my doula training included imagining that I had just been told today that I had 3 months to live. I had to consider what that meant for me. How do I tell my son Isaac and my husband David? What do I need to finish before I die? Who do I want at my bedside when I die? Where do I want to die? And that's just to name a few of the questions I was asked. It was difficult work, but it helped put things into perspective, and it helped each of us in the training program through the initial fear and trepidation around thinking deeply about our own deaths. In the past, I've had the opportunity to write my own obituary or consider advance directives for my medical care. I thought I was good with all of this, but I had not imagined my last days in such detail. I think that spending a little time thinking about the end of your own life might help you listen to a sick or dying person who needs to be heard. And truthfully, very little talking is necessary on your part. That's another thing I've learned about the chaplain and doula gigs. If we can listen deeply to another person, 99% of the work is already done. So our gifts to each other can be listening deeply, without expectation, and working on our comfort with all expressions of emotions, especially grief. To loop back to the beginning, I want to take a minute to talk about what doulas actually do. The work will be different with every person and may include friends and families too. A doula begins by learning what the dying person wants and needs. That may be dealing with regrets or fears, or creating ways to be remembered. A doula can explain what to expect in the last days, weeks, and hours. And doulas work with families after the death, helping them process the experience or reminding them of moments of joy or laughter. As an example, a doula in Maine had a 99-year-old client who saw his death as a graduation, and he wanted a graduation party. She helped him plan a celebration, inviting a big group of friends and family to celebrate his life while he was there to enjoy it. The evening went on for hours as everyone told stories. The man said, "Death is not at my door, but it's in my yard." He also said he was grateful to have an outside person who could talk about death without the emotions of a loved one. I think death is sacred. It can be many other things too, but it is almost always sacred. And we can miss some transcendent moments if we let our fear or our discomfort get in the way. I've always loved the Ram Dass quote, "We're all just walking each other home." That's how I see my work as a doula and as a chaplain. I'm just a companion on the journey. That quote also seems to describe my life as a UU in this beloved community. We are all walking each other home, and I am so grateful to be on the road with you.
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right.
As is our custom, when we close our worship, we speak words of hope for one another and for our world. Wherever you may be right now, I invite you to say with us our words of blessing. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings.
When true simplicity is